guys. Let me make sure that the audio is okay. I think it is. Okay, I think we look good. Okay, so I guess what I'm doing is I'm just gonna go live, and I know that I haven't done much of my spiritual content on here, but I think that what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna open a conversation, and I don't expect a whole lot of people to come in today, because I keep switching my hours, trying to figure out like what time works best for my schedule and like what's happening in my life. And so I don't expect a lot of people. I feel bad. But like the 9 o'clock time to 10 o'clock time wasn't really working. So going live at 2 and just kind of like opening up the conversations as far as like what's going on, right? So I wanted to grab my book, actually. Let me grab my book and show you guys my book a little bit. Because I think that what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna talk about my book that I wrote. It's the Mediumship, Self-Love, and Healing. And kind of like have a conversation about like different parts of the book. So then that way like people can learn the material if they don't want to get the book, or if they want to learn about what's in the book. It could be a good start kind of thing. So in the beginning, like I kind of talk about like an introduction. So I guess like I have bullets and I wanted to like start this conversation. I plan to put it up on like YouTube and stuff, so you could like guys talk to me like if you want to. I see one person in here. If you want to have a back and forth, you can. Don't feel like you can't talk. But I'm gonna talk as if like no one's here. And then if people engage, they engage, and if they don't, they don't. Because like I said, I don't know if anyone's gonna show up. And thank you for showing up, the one person that is here. 2 people that are here. I see you. Thanks for showing up. But yeah, I figure like I'll just talk a little bit about why I wrote this book, and my experience with mediumship. And I thought it would be a good part because like the introduction to the book isn't just about like introducing the book content, but like introducing me and like why I'm writing it, like why I chose to write the book. And I thought it would be a good like step in to like telling people like, hey, like this is why I did this. You should check it out. And maybe it's worth checking out. I don't know. I'm gonna pull up in my bullet points. I'm not gonna read from anything. Like at first I was like, well, I should just read the book, and I was like, no, like if people want the book read to them, they'll get an audiobook. I want to have a conversation about it. So we're gonna do it this way. So let me pull open my bullets, so then I can remind myself what I'm going to be talking about. There we go, so I can see it. But yeah, so one of the things that I wanted to talk about, to start off this whole thing is that when I started this book, like, one of the most profound advice that I got was that, like, if a book didn't have, love in the first word, then it wasn't, like, really worth reading, because as a mediumship book, like, love is a very powerful thing. It's not just an emotion, it's an energy, and an energy that bridges, like, through time and space. Like, it's one of those things that, like, if you love someone, like, time doesn't matter, space doesn't matter, like, you have that connection, and it carries through dimensions. Interesting song coming through here. Interesting. I'm gonna have to look up the lyrics of the song. But it's about like love bridging past and beyond spaces, time, when somebody passes away, or even before you've even met them, they are connected with you. And as we bridge through into all these different possibilities of self, either they grow in possibility, or they taper off, because we're going to either meet this person through the forks of decisions we make, or we're not. So those connections to this then kind of like peter off, because there's a million possibilities that could come from this one possibility. But I'm not trying to get too off topic here. But as a medium, the reason why love is so important, and the bridges in that we have that are love connected, is that the love bridges are the most powerful, because like I said, they go past dimensional space and time. So they're the easiest to connect to. Especially if I can resonate with the frequency of unconditional love, not just love, but unconditional love. So if I can be balanced in that and understand the concept of unconditional love, then I'm able to then bridge to these bridges. So there are other bridges, people I've had to... Oh my goodness, somebody did a coin toss. Somebody did a coin toss. Thank you so much. I can't see anyone in the comments if you guys are commenting. Now I'm worried. Let me do a check. Chat check. Chat check. Okay, I think we're good. No, it disappeared. Okay, it came back. I think chat is working. You know me, Cheddar Boy, and okay, well thank you. Thank you, Bobby. But yeah, so coming in and understanding that there are different types of bridges that can be made. In fact, one of the first times I ever connected on a mediumship reading, the oddest thing happened. I had sat down to conduct a reading, and as I sat down, I was told just like take walk-ins on mediumship, and I was scared. I was like, I've never done a mediumship reading. My guides are like, you can do this, and I was like, no, I can't. Like, I don't want to do this. Like, I've done it personally. I've walked up to strangers and give messages from people that had passed, but I never did it professionally. And they were like, just put it down on the books that you're a medium, take your first appointment, sit down with them. And somebody were driving through another part of Wyoming, had drove by and felt drawn, they said, to this place. Came in, saw that I was there, and this little 10-year-old girl comes like walking into my office, and she stares, and she's like, what do you do? What do you do? And I was like, oh, I'm a medium. And the girl goes, oh, what's a medium? She turns to her mom, and her mom's like, oh, she talks to people that have passed away. And her daughter's like, I want that, I need that. And she's like, what? Why would you need that? Like, the mom was just like, just not understanding, I don't know what she wasn't understanding, but she was like, why do you need a medium? And the 10-year-old's like, well, aunt, blah, blah, blah. And she's like, oh, okay, well, you want to do a mediumship? And she said yes, and I'm like, like, my first one's a 10-year-old girl. And it needed to happen this way. It's so odd, because she's like, well, we're looking to connect to, I know it's an aunt, and I know at this point, which took off a lot of pressure, you know, gender thing is one of those things that's really hard to come through on mediumship. And, like, as I sit down with them, I connect the little girl to her aunt first off, and I'm connecting to a love bridge, a very powerful love bridge. She really misses her aunt. There was a lot of love between them, and the way that she saw her was very whimsical, so she had a very strong bridge. So I was able to connect very well. And then the sister then wanted to connect to her sister, and there was nothing there. And I couldn't figure out what was going on. But I know that this person exists. I know that because I just connected for the daughter, on behalf of the daughter, the relationship between them. And that's why I feel like it had to happen this way, so I could understand the depths of other bridges, right? So I'm trying to connect to a love bridge between these two sisters. There wasn't one. And the bridge that I ended up connecting to was a different frequency of emotion. And it was a frequency of survival. And I know that doesn't sound like an emotion, but it is. I connected to this survival frequency. And her sister comes through, and it was so difficult to try to connect to this particular energy, but it came through very powerful reading too. And it wasn't all about loves and unicorns and everything. It was a real reading. It was a raw reading about the relationship that she had with her sister. They didn't have a very loving relationship. They did. They loved each other. But it was more about, like, mutual survival. Like, they loved each other in a different way. So it was beautiful in a different way. Do you know what I mean? But I wouldn't have been able to, if somebody had sat down in front of me and I was trying to connect the sister to her sister, I would have then thought that there was something wrong with my mediumship. But that's why I think it had to happen the way it did. And it was just a really crazy first impression, especially when the woman went, "Oh my gosh, that was incredible. How long have you been doing this?" And I was like, "Oh, this is my first one." And they all went, "What?" What? It was an incredible thing. Because they didn't know it was my first time. I didn't tell them. And it was, I'm glad that I connected them to her. And then after that, I had a very strict one person policy. The person that's getting the reading is the only one that's present, because I was so taxed after that, because bridging to one person and then having to then fix and mend another bridge to that same person, because each bridge is different. I had to help mend the sister's bridge to her sister in order for her to connect. And like I said, it was a bridge of survival, so we had to, like, work through a lot to get to the point where I could even connect for her sister. So it was just very taxing going from one reading and then doing back-to-back another person. But, oh, we need to get rid of that comment. How do we? Add block list. I guess they're getting blocked in Rainstream. Okay. But anyway, so before I conducted my first reading in mediumship, I always knew I was a medium. But the problem was, I grew up in a family in which I was told that it was a gift we had. In the way that they said it was a gift from God, that God had given it to us. We were only allowed to use it on angels. But only my great-grandma was allowed to do it, because she was the only one that believed that would have the fortitude to only speak to angels. So she said if it ever came up in the family again, it needed to be stomped out. So my great-grandmother that I never met basically closed the door and said, if it shows up in our family again, stomp it out. And she had so much fear, and she was prophesizing and saying, like, oh, the apocalypse is coming, and she put a lot of fear into my family. So a lot of my family were waiting for these prophecies. Like, she would prophesize things, so they were waiting for things in their life where those things were going to pop up. And one of the things which she had said was, like, if it ever pops up, stomp it out. And so there was a lot of fear around my mediumship in my entire family. So I didn't feel like I could really talk to anyone when these things started surfacing. When I was like, hey mom, I see this thing, you know, and I'm young, and she's like, oh, that it's probably a ghost, but we don't talk about that. We have mediumship in our family, but, like, we don't talk about that. And there was just a lot of fear around it. So they believed in it, but they were completely against it, and they were like, just wall it off. So I spent most of my life fearing my abilities, doubting my abilities, and trying to wall off from them. Bury them, wall off, wall off, wall off. And my guides tried so hard to keep me online. Like, tried so hard to be like, no, you have these connections. Like, there are spirits trying to come through that need to talk to their loved ones. And they really tried to keep me online. But I definitely pulled away pretty harshly. I was afraid of the dark. I slept with the light on all the way up until I was in my mid-20s. These are real things, you know what I mean? And so it's difficult. So the book that I'm writing is to try to help people not have fear around their abilities. So They can choose to love themselves, break through conditioning, because I had a lot of conditioning growing up. Not only due to, like, the suppression of my abilities, but suppression of a lot of things. Like, not being supportive for a lot of the things that I was choosing. If they're not going to support one aspect of you, there's a pretty good chance they're not going to support other aspects of you. Bobby says, what was wild is you didn't ask me who or a name, you told me who and just started using their name without me telling you. And it was a bridge that needed repaired. Really? I don't even remember that, Bobby. Yeah, like, well, and the thing is, like, sometimes when it's information that's shared with me, like, it just goes straight into my knowing, and then I think that, like, we had a conversation about it. And that could be the case of that, like, if you had that experience. I would say that your reading was a very powerful one. I've had really powerful ones, and then I've had ones that are a little bit harder. I definitely find that some of my mediumship readings, especially if somebody speaks another language, and when I mean speaks another language, I mean that, like, if they're a very emotional person and they speak through emotion versus visual or language cues, like, it comes through in the reading, like how somebody like speaks and the way that they speak. If it's not something that is relatable to me, it's a little harder to understand what they're trying to say, especially if they think very differently. But that's why I teach bridging techniques, is because I wouldn't be able to talk to these people at all if I was channeling, because there is such a difference in subconscious that, like, there would be no alignment. They wouldn't be able to step in and have this conversation with me because there wouldn't be an alignment. So, like, with a bridge, I can still make the attempt to speak to people that don't have the same subconscious, like, alignment. But Bobby, you say yes, you told me who was there and I never told you a name, and we just started using it. Oh, what? I don't remember that at all. That's funny. I don't remember that at all. Interesting. It's interesting. I used to write down my readings, and I then started worrying that people would get a hold of them, so I stopped writing them down, because I really wanted these readings to stay personal, for the people, you know what I mean? So, like, it's only for them, and then nobody has to be worried about, like, this information or me doing any of that. Like, when I talk about the first reading that I did, I'm trying to be vague as well, because, like, I definitely don't want to give too much information, because it's just, it's too personal. But anyway, the fact is that, like, when I held so much fear about my abilities, I was on a frequency. It's like a radio station, and I try to tell people, if you are attuned to a certain frequency, that's what you're going to see. So because I was afraid of my abilities, I saw very scary things, because I was on the frequency of fear. So, like, I feared my abilities, so it was, like, you know, tuned into fear-based beings, seeing a lot of fear-based beings, and that's why, like, when I was afraid of the dark, when I held fear for my abilities, I was afraid to see something. That was what I was seeing, was things that was reacting to that frequency of fear, feeding off that frequency of fear. But also I was attuned to a particular spectrum of light, and that was more of a darkness, because I was afraid of darkness, so, like, I was attuned into that frequency, if you would. I tend now to be as gray as possible. Like, I try to be very balanced in my spectrum of lights, very dual. Try to be right in the center there. And then I also try to, when I connect to bridges and stuff, I try to do unconditional love, because that is a neutral gray type of emotion, so it's very balanced emotion. And that's why I choose that, because you have the different forms of love, like grief, that's very low frequency, and then you have love, like romantic love, which is very high frequency, and then you have unconditional love, which is very, like, neutral. It is a very good neutral emotion, and it's a really good one to connect to. So I try to use unconditional love when I'm when I'm connecting for people. But anyway, I think that we talked about, so most mediums are in that fear-based thing about their own abilities, doubt, fear, trying to logic it away, or some of them jump into it haphazardly and really hurt themselves because they just don't know what they're doing because there's this excitement, which is something I kind of did in my teenage years, a little rebellious against the you can't do it. Okay, well then I'm gonna do it behind your back. I dabbled in a lot of things that I probably shouldn't have, because, like, it's weird because there's that fear, but then there's also this curiosity of, like, trying to figure out what my reality is, trying to figure out how things work, the world around me. That's when I developed numerology, trying to speak to my guides through numerology, and I've written down that system because it was my first tool of divination, and I was able to speak to my guides, and that's when I started actually receiving guidance. When I was about a teenager, my guides started trying to help me, but I really wanted a mentor. I didn't feel like it was enough. I wanted, like, someone to lead my way, that was on this plane. This plane. Bobby says, so powerful it was that this is who's here. What does that sound? That sounded like a level up. Oh my goodness, did we just get raided? I don't know what just happened. Oh my gosh, where's my phone? I need to get onto the TikTok. Or on the Twitch. I'm gonna get my Twitch open, guys, so I can figure out what these sounds are. But hold on. Yeah, I don't know what that was. There was a weird sound that came in. I'm not sure what that was. It sounded like a level up, though. It sounded like a mushroom. There's that sound again. What was that? Oh, it was a raid. Vixen. Okay. I see you, Vixen. Thank you for the raid. Okay, but anyway, to get back to it, the thing, I really wanted a mentor, and, it just didn't happen. It definitely didn't happen. There was a whole lot of, I don't know, pushback. Like, I tell people, like, how when in my mid-20s, I had a medium that came up to me and was like, oh my gosh, like, you need mentoring, I'm here for you, and she just came out of the blue, and it was weird. I don't even know how the conversation started. She just, like, walked up to me, and she's like, you're very intuitive, like, I can see you, and I was like, oh, okay, and she's like, here's a card, like, I want to mentor you, like, I want to spiritually mentor you, and she stood it across the table, and I was so excited. I started crying. I helped her with a print job because I worked at the print center. I worked at Copy and Print Center. So I helped her with her copy job, and then right after she left, like, I went to go look at the card, and it wasn't in my pocket. I couldn't find it anywhere. I was not meant to have a mentor. I did find out later that a lot of mentors siphon energy. They make bridges to younger mediums that are coming into the scene, and then they siphon. Some of it is not on purpose, some of it is. Like, it matters on the person. But I would say from what I've noticed most is that people are unintentionally doing it. At least that's what I'm seeing. Like, I'm seeing that people are bridging to other people and then pulling that energy because they want to be a stronger mediums, and then they gravitate towards people with a lot of energy that are also mediums, and then, like, pull that energy because that's what they want. So, like, there's a part of them is aware, but maybe not on a conscious level, if that makes sense. So that's why they seek out these people that burn bright. So be very careful. Oh, that's so cute! Thanks for coming in, Deathly Vixen. I hope that you had a good game. You booted your mentors. Yeah, and I think that part of it is, I think it's okay to have mentors if they are trusted, but it's really hard to tell. It's really hard to tell. And when I say if they're trusted, the thing is, like, there's a lot of people in the spiritual community that really don't know what they're doing. So just use your discernment the best you can. And definitely speak with your guides and make sure that your guides are on board, and have those conversations with your guides about if you want somebody to try to help lead. And your guide should be down to tell you, and if you can't speak to your guides, well then, tools of divination, and that's why, like, in my book, like, I try to teach people, like, part of, like, all of this is it's self-love, breaking of conditioning, and then it goes into understanding your abilities, where you lie on those abilities, trying to understand the depths of energy so you can connect to your own frequency, take care of your own energy, and then by the end of it, connect to your guides by different tools of divination. So, what? Don't get all mad at me. You're the one that was gonna step on my keys. Go over there. Ah, you knocked my book over. Tyrant. She's a tyrant. But yeah, so in order to kind of come into this, this understanding, like what I said, use your discernment. It's about self-love. Like, if you love yourself, like, would you do these things? Like, and a lot of that comes down to, like, oxygen mask, like, understanding your energetic flow. Like, if somebody is tapping into your energy, if you're feeling depleted around this person, like, listening to yourself, and having that inner wisdom, inner guidance systems to go, like, red flags going off, something's wrong, somebody's pulling from my energy, and that's why, like, self-love is so important as a medium, because, like, you have to overcome self-doubt, you have to believe in yourself, you have to break through all these conditions, all of these bias. Like, you can't hold biased and then come in and do an appropriate reading for someone if you hold biased. If you have shitty perspectives, that's going to come out in your readings if your lenses and your perspectives are shitty. So you have to keep growing as a person. Like, so if you're choosing mediumship, you are choosing to continue to grow as a person and to understand the self, and through understanding the self, understanding the world around you. Because the thing is, the more that you love and understand yourself, the more you have that acceptance and love and understanding for others. And that's why, like, this is a difficult path. It is a path of continual growth and pushing through. Rebuilding foundation. You know, like, if you built it wrong, break it down. Build a new one. Like, no matter how much it hurts, it says. The song. But yeah, breaking through the conditioning, changing your perspectives, and knowing that, like, there are dangers to this. Like, you shouldn't be just opening yourself. That is not self-love. Opening yourself to just allowing spirits to jump in, that is not self-love. And I've seen too many beginning mediums, the ones that are really super, super excited about it. They're like, oh my gosh, I let this spirit jump in and take over my body, and then I wake up with new scratches, or wake up with something written on the wall. And I'm like, don't do that. No self-respecting person would allow something to hijack your body. And I had this conversation with this freaking 16-year-old girl. She sat down, she was so excited. Her mom had me sit down with her because she's super excited about her mediumship, and her mom's supportive, and I love that. But when I heard some of the things that this girl was doing, like, I laid into her. I was like, do not allow things into your body. Don't do that. That's not self-love. You need to love yourself. And she's like, well, I enjoy it, and I let it. No. If you loved yourself, you wouldn't allow something to just come in and take over. It reminds me of, was Amazing World of Gumball, where he lets the ghost character, what was her name, Connie? I don't remember her name. Where he lets the ghost character jump into him, and she eats a bunch of trash stuff, because she's like, I really miss eating food. So, like, he lets her possess him, and then, like, she eats a bunch of food, and then, like, she makes him super sick, and, like, this goes on for a long period of time before he finally says no, and then tries to set boundaries. It's very much like that, but not so much like that, because the thing is, the more that you allow something into you, the harder it is for you to not allow it anymore. because they leave energy behind, and it stains your energy, so it becomes more and more, your body becomes more and more available to them, and that's why it's extremely dangerous. Channeling is extremely dangerous. I do not recommend it as a medium, and like I said, I teach other methods that have more self-love and more skill, a lot more skill, because mediumship is about bridging and controlling bridges and having the ability to control bridges. So if you learn how to use your ability instead of just opening a door, if you learn how to control the doors, the pathways to those doors, that is a lot more powerful than just opening a door and just allowing whatever to come in. Like, you're not paying attention. If you know how to then form the paths that control that direction, you know, it's kind of like airbrushing and just like pulling the nozzle all the way back and it just spraying everywhere, versus like having the ability then to create art and change your colors, and then you create a masterpiece, an art piece, versus something like just, you know, black spot on a canvas. But anyway, and that takes a lot of balancing and a lot of healing, and I don't know if I can use any of this content, but I figured that that's the introduction to my book, and I wanted to talk about it and have a conversation about it, and that's just the beginning introduction, just talking about like how a lot of mediums, they get on these talk shows or they get on these stages, and then like that's what we know mediumship is, and it's like that's not what mediumship is for most of us. Mediumship is self-doubt, fighting with trying to hold on to reality, trying to decide which one is, you know, what things are we going to logic, which things are we going to allow it to be in that spectrum of questionable. Which ones are our imagination, and being able to make these discernments, and we lack the support, and it's just really interesting, because a lot of these talk show mediums, I don't think a lot of them are mediums. I think that they might have abilities, but I do not think that they are actually mediums, a lot of them. Just from the way that abilities work, coming through with a chart, and then looking at the alignment of their abilities. Mediumship is in the middle of 4 different aspects, 4 different abilities. Mediumship is right in the middle. That's why it's called mediumship, is because it's in the middle of the 4 different aspects of self, between the body, the soul, the mind, and the emotional self. So it's right there in the middle, because you have your psychics, you have your empaths, you have your oracles, and then you have your corporalists. And your corporalists are the ones that feel the clairsentience through the body. So, clairsentience is the clairsenses. So a medium is somebody that can bridge. Like, they have some of those abilities, or all of them, very rarely. I say very rarely, all of them, because most people will be towards, like, maybe 2. And then be in the middle, but leaning towards 2. Or sometimes they're just very close to empath, and then they're in the middle, but they're not fully in the middle. So they have some abilities to bridge, but like it's not going to be as obvious because there's not an overlap of ability. But anyway, and these are the types of things that I'm trying to teach, and these are the kinds of things that I talk about in my book, and I'm like, I wanted to start a conversation about it, and I didn't know how to start, so I was like, well, I'll just start with the intro. I'll bullet the intro, and, I guess edit things together. I don't know. But yeah, welcome to my, I guess, hour conversation on my book. Just talking about the intro and why I wrote it. But yeah, mainly it was because like I had to overcome a lot of conditioning. I didn't even, like, I started streaming in like 2018, and I didn't mention my mediumship. I didn't mention it at all. And then I want to say like 2021, the end of 2020, I had a mass spiritual awakening again, and I couldn't go back to sleep. And then so 2021, I went on the soul search. I stopped streaming as much because like it was just, I was losing my grandpa. I had a mass spiritual awakening. I went from agoraphobic that was afraid to leave my home to traveling to go see my grandpa that summer on repeat, like 15-hour drives. And I was agoraphobic. So I had to push through a lot of fear to even be here in this particular form. But you know what I mean. I'm glad I've got none of that psychic looks so rough from the outside. So you're happy you don't have psychic? So I would say that in my experience, because I'm used to psychic and oracle the most, I would say the hardest one for me was empath. And it's funny because you said the hardest one looks like psychic to you. The hardest one for me was empath. And it's an opposing side. So, I really love talking about Avatar: The Last Airbender. Because there's puzzle pieces everywhere, and I really do feel like the Avatar is a medium kind of thing, if you want to look at it that way. And, like, the different abilities, like, trying to be right there in the middle between all of the four, the elements. It's a really cool concept, and they're like the opposite of what they are causes issues, like water, the opposite is earth, so, no, what was it, she was really good, so Korra had a hard time with airbending, because it was the opposite of her personality, is what they said, which is interesting, not opposite element that they were born into, but opposite of personality. So Korra was fiery and very strong. She was very strong-willed. So the opposite for her was going with the flow. So she had a hard time with air, which is our empaths. I call the empaths the airbenders. And then I think it was Aang had a hard time with earth. So because he was always go with the flow, free flowing, so he had a really hard time with earthbending because he wasn't strong enough, and like boundaries, like he lacked a lot of that, which is kind of cool because I feel like, I don't know, it's not really personality based, but like I would say that that's why empath felt a little bit harder for me. I feel like with psychic, you're kind of in control of things to a certain point. I've been interrogated by a lot of psychics. I don't like it. They're very invasive with their energy. I definitely don't do that. I hope I never did that when, before I was aware. I really hope that I didn't, but I think that I probably did. Because I had people that, like, all of a sudden just wanted nothing to do with me, and I literally did nothing to them. And it might have been because, like, I was, energetically interrogating, like, she's in my energy. But I don't know. I'm just saying it's a possibility. And then, it's the opposite for empaths. They're constantly being invaded. So, like, I feel like it's weird because psychics have a problem with invasion. And then your empaths have a hard time with being invaded. So it's the opposite. And when I say that they're invading, they're trying to understand the world around them. And they spiral in their thoughts, like, as they're trying to figure out, like, conversations that you had with them, and, they dig, like, and sometimes they spiral, and they're trying to seek answers, so then they're accidentally energetically digging, and they don't mean to, so it's not that they're doing it on purpose, so, but I think there's a part of us that are aware of, like, I don't like that person's energy, because for some reason, their energy is off-putting for me because, like, I feel like they're digging. I used to be accused a lot of, like, digging in people because of my eyes, because my eyes are blue. I used to, like, wear my hair over my eyes, like, over the top of my eyes, because I hated that people said that. They're like, it feels like your eyes are digging into my soul, and I'm like, I'm sorry, I can't control the color of my eyes. But also, I didn't like making eye contact because I felt like I was looking into people. And it's interesting because the eyes are the windows to the soul, and we've all heard that saying. I felt it at one point when I would look into people's eyes, like I felt like I was looking deeper than just their eyes, And now I had this boundary. When I look into somebody's eyes, I don't look that deep. And I think that intuitively, it wasn't the fact that my eyes were blue. They saw that I had no control. Do you know what I mean? That I lacked control. And that I was looking deeper than their eyes. Hi, Just Monk. You have gorgeous eyes. Aww. How are you doing? A lot. The dreams I had last year was seeing possibilities. Nice. And, like, oracle stuff. The oracle I've had in dreams, seen possibilities of things. So, Tuco, sometimes our guides can give us those messaging. It doesn't mean that you're an oracle. So just keep that in mind. Because sometimes our guides are trying to lead us away from possibilities. Because the moment you dream of a possibility, it becomes out of tune. It's something that then becomes impossible for that to come out exactly that way. And sometimes to avoid possibilities, your guides can send you possibilities to try to make it an avoidance of that possibility. So, an oracle dream, they don't always dream about possibilities. A lot of it is dream surfing with oracles. You end up living other people's lives through their eyes. It is really fucking weird. I had a dream once that I was a sweaty man, and I was really worried about crawling onto someone's bed to hang a like, they wanted me to hang a frame. It was a picture frame. They wanted me to climb up onto their bed to hang this frame, and I was worried about my sweaty body being on their bed sheets. And I didn't want to tell them that that's what I didn't want. Like, I was, like, so nervous, and I was sweating even worse because, like, they'd asked me to do this thing, and I was sweaty, and I felt gross. And I start sweating more, and I'm like, I just don't want my sweat to get onto their bed. And I was just so upset. I was so devastated that they'd asked me to do this such minor thing. And then I woke up, and I was like, what the fuck was that? I was, like, an overweight, sweaty man. And that's a perspective I never thought I could have. So oracles are about understanding the depths of self through other people's eyes. So it teaches you perspective. So it is a glance at a spiritual message. No! They were the better possibilities. They were the better possibilities. What the fuck was that? What do you mean? Monk, what happened? Why does it scream no? So you're saying that they were the better possibilities. That would need to be a conversation. Maybe they were trying to lead you towards the possibilities, not knowing that sometimes showing you those cause you to be out of tune. That could be our guides aren't perfect. They're not perfect. And they do make mistakes. They are just like us in many ways. They're us, but they've lived more lives than us. That doesn't mean that they've learned from it. So sometimes our guides will make mistakes, and that sounds like if that's what they were trying to hopefully lead you towards, they were unaware of sharing this with you is going to make you feel like it's going to happen, and then it doesn't happen. Because that's not how that works. Like, if they're trying to motivate you, and you're having these dreams, and they're not motivating you, there needs to be... It doesn't sound like they're oracle dreams then. If they were possibilities that were good, unless it was a misguided guide. And like I said, they're not perfect. Our guides aren't perfect. Maybe they were hoping that showing you this vision would motivate you. Or bring something good, but they were not aware of how the human psyche works and how energy works. Because if we see a possibility, it becomes an impossibility. Because then we change the way that we approach those things. Either we think they're ours and we don't have to work as hard, or we work too hard to make that thing come true, and then it doesn't come true. So it puts you out of tune. That's the question you ask? Oh. That you asked the... You just ask what the fuck was that? Yeah, it's difficult, guys. Like, the way Oracle dreams are, some of them are possibilities, but they're usually possibilities far from self. It's some sort of messaging and gathering of information to teach you something. To teach you something you're lacking. It might be teaching you something that you long for, or something out of reach, or it's to see a perspective that you wouldn't have seen otherwise. And so when I've dreamt of other possibilities, they were significantly different. I had a dream where we were living in mega cities. We all lived in a little tight spot, and there were these phones on the wall that, like, in case the mega city opened it up into space, because they were so tall that they had oxygen issues. So if one accidentally opened, you would run to this side, and they looked like payphones, and you would pick them up and you would breathe into it. You would breathe into it, and the emergency would be on the other line, like talking to you, walking you through trying to survive that instance, right? So that's why they look like payphones. In this instance, something bad had happened. I was a person during this when it opened up. I saw the payphone things. I ran past them. I ended up running into this like really effed up part of the mega city to avoid being captured. And in that's the thing that I'm trying to explain to you is like one small change can lead to a different trajectory to the point where we're living in mega cities. Do we live in mega cities? No. But small things like that, and they seem like these fantastic worlds, and it's funny because this what makes people really good storytellers sometimes, I swear, because you have these vivid dreams that feel so real, and you have a knowing attached to these dreams. Like, you know things, like you know things, and you don't know why you know these things. Like the fucking payphone things, I knew that they were for oxygen. I knew that I ran by them, that I wasn't going to use them. And this was me living a completely different, as a completely different person in a completely different reality, and I knew everything that person was feeling at that moment, that I was feeling at that moment, because it was me. It was me. And when I ran down into like the staircase into this decrepit part of the megacity, yeah, I remember all the things. But anyway, and that's what I'm trying to help people understand, is we don't just dream things for no reason. That there's puzzle pieces in our entertainment, that we've been warning ourselves against certain possibilities. Like, we're trying to, like, hey, don't repeat history! And it's not history yet, but it will be unless we fucking wake up. And so that's why our entertainment, there's always signs and symbols saying, hey, stop, we're headed this direction, because people are dreaming about it. They're writing stories about these things. You know, we don't want these things to come to pass. And that's why they're in our entertainment, because, like, they are messages that are getting widespread and being like, we don't want to have these possibilities. Hi, Toast. Welcome in. I just want to come in and check in. Brain ain't doing it too hot today. I'm so sorry. I hope you all have a good day. Have a good one. Yeah, I hope you have a good one too. But anyway, I'll jump off. I don't know how much I'm gonna use on YouTube talking about my book, because I left the music on the whole time, and this is really an experiment. Like, and honestly, I forgot to record it. I forgot to record it, so I'll have to see if I can't get it off of YouTube in one piece. And if I can't get it off YouTube, maybe I'll try again at some point, or maybe I'll do this like offline. Have a similar conversation and just put a YouTube up on it, and then I can kind of refine this, because again, I'm just trying to get my content out there. I'm trying to let people know, like, what I'm writing, why I'm writing it, like, what I'm doing. I'm trying to invite people into my world and into understanding that I'm trying to help people, guide people, connect to themselves, and, like, I'm trying what I can, to get my content out there. And I don't know where to start. Like, I feel like I don't know where to go. So I'm just kind of fumbling around until I figured it out, I guess. But yeah, I gotta go pick up my kiddos. But like I said, I probably should have muted if I plan to use it on YouTube. Be you, all that matters. Well, that's what I'm trying to do, but like, when I get suppressed for trying to be myself, you saw what happened on TikTok? Like, I tried to show, like, my Google Docs. Oh, thank you. Thank you for them corgis. Thank you for the corgis. Yeah, like, I'm trying to be myself, and, like, I got hit with a, what was it, unoriginal content? Like, community guidance violation? Because I showed a web browser with my Google Doc so I could just, like, read part of my book to you guys, and I got hit with unoriginal content, and I'm like, what the fuck is that? Like, what the fuck is that? Like, I don't understand. Like, if I'm just trying to write with you guys, how am I supposed to... I don't know what to do. I just gotta keep doing me. Doing my best, trying my best. Okay, Cheddar Boy in, Cheddar Boy out. Thank you, Bobby. Isn't there a new stream app? It seems I've heard about. I don't know. I know, there's new ones that pop up all the time. They usually close down. I'm trying to stick with the big ones right now because, Oracle has TikTok, even though there's suppressant happening in there. Twitch is owned by Amazon. And then YouTube is owned by Google. So, like, those are the big players right now. And I don't think they're going anywhere. And that's the three that I'm kind of focusing on right now. And we'll see if I focus on other things. Like, I thought about trying Instagram a few times, but, like, I really don't think that people... Yeah. I don't know. Well, we'll just keep playing. Keep doing. I'll be on again tomorrow, guys. 11 a.m. MST. And then 2 p.m. as well on here. So, I'll be back. I'll keep trying. I don't know what I'm going to be doing tomorrow. I might be trying to finish that animation, but I don't know. I had to charge my iPad. I don't know where my Apple Pen went. I lost it. But yeah, one step at a time, guys. We got this. Keep going. If you haven't seen my readings on YouTube, keep pushing through was one of them. The one on TikTok was seeking connection and relatability, that we need to keep trying to find relatability in people, because right now it's really hard. We want to reach out, but we don't. So we're in this weird wanting connection, but also not wanting connection. And so we're in a weird place right now, as a collective. So check those guys out if you want. Check for more content. If you're not following a Discord, follow so you know when I go live, because notifications suck. Alright, bye! Bye, guys. I'll ask, and maybe it's Dead Talk podcast time. I know, right? I need to do that. I really need to do that. I need to figure out how to do that. Alright, bye!